Welcome to the Third House podcast. I'm Erica, your host, and together we'll unravel the astrological and psychological tapestry that shapes our lives. Join me on this exploration towards our deepest potential and authentic selves. I can't wait to connect on our journey of self-discovery, so let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I wanted to jump on and record this podcast episode to provide a little bit more insight on this Venus cycle, because I think a lot of people don't even know about the Venus cycle and sort of how Venus has superior conjunctions, inferior conjunctions, a morning star versus an evening star, and how if you trace the conjunctions on your chart, it will form a star. Now, I'll let you unpack the symbolism and the history of that. But I think when Venus enters Aries at 0 degrees, this is also the Aries point, which adds another level of significance to it, importance. And really, this is happening February 3rd, February 4th, but I would pay attention to really the whole first week of February. What is coming up for you? Now, I really want to refrain from talking too much astrological language because I think this is important. This is a podcast episode where I think the message, the overall message is like very, very, very important for me, more than usual. So I hope this material isn't confusing. If you are new to astrology or new to my channel, I would just look out for the main messages, because we often focus on these, oh, this planet's going retrograde, now it goes direct. And yes, it's part of, a story. It goes direct. Maybe you get contextual clues and then you revisit those when that planet returns to that degree or around those degrees. But this one's different. This one's interesting in 2025. And again, I don't want to go too much into detail because I think I'm going to confuse a lot of you and then miss the mark on the message. But basically, when Venus goes direct in, I believe, April of 2025, and it goes conjunct the North Node, in its place of exaltation, it will be at its brightest point in the sky. So again, there's a lot of significance around that in that Venus cycle. But we're talking about roughly 18-month cycles where Venus is a morning star for about 9 months and then an evening star for about 9 months. And again, I'll let you unpack that gestational 9-month period and the purpose of creation on your own. But I kind of want to break it down a little bit more. But before I do, again, this is not conclusive. I am not going to go through the entire Venus cycle, like each conjunction, the elongation, the brightness. I'm not going to go into that. I really want to talk about this particular juncture in the cycle because it is a really good preparatory phase, especially because it's really going to amplify, in my opinion, around this coincidentally eclipse season. So lots going on here in early 2025. But basically, Venus enters Aries at 0 degrees, February 3rd or 4th, depending on where you are in the world. But again, pay attention to the whole first week. And it will return to this area or orb of area around March 23rd through the 26th. So you could definitely revisit themes that are unfolding or coming up internally or externally the first week of February, but this is actually part of a Venus cycle that's providing us something much deeper to look into. So again, first week of February, Venus at 0 degrees. What is coming up? Note it down, journal it, whatever you have to do, internally, externally. Before it retrogrades back to this degree point, between March 19th through roughly the 25th, depending on where you are in the world, is when Venus goes dark. So before Venus retrogrades back to this 0 degrees Aries point, it will not be visible in the sky roughly between March 19th through the 25th. So it's no longer visible. This point in the Venus cycle, I think, is sort of like those darkness retreats. Especially when Venus is going from an evening star, which it is, to a morning star. So when Venus goes dark, you literally, if you look up in the sky, you won't be able to see Venus during this time frame. So before it retrogrades back, or we start to revisit the things that maybe came up internally or externally the first week of February, we're sort of going to be given an opportunity to be in this metaphorical darkness retreat. Now, if you've never heard of a darkness retreat, it's basically people pay money to spend like about a week or so in darkness. So someone delivers their food, but it's like no phone, no TV, no sound. It's just, your bed, your bathroom, like almost like a hotel room, but a lot of times they're in nature somewhere. Like you have nothing to respond to. You're basically forced to like sit in darkness and just sit with yourself. So this first week of February, leading up to when Venus is going to retrograde back over this 0 degree Aries point, which again is quite significant, we get this metaphorical darkness retreat. And what I'm sharing now regarding Venus, I sat with this all morning, and it sort of ignited these ideas of beauty and creation, which are often associated with Venus. And sort of, what does that even mean? And when I sat with my gene keys, I realized that I have a key in my profile that talks about beauty and freshness. So, shout out to Richard Rudd and your incredible work. But when I started to dive deep, it was sort of like I felt sort of universally led to this material in the book for this. And when I started reading and how it talks about how our notion of beauty is always rooted in the presence of something rather than in its absence. Now I'll repeat that again. How our notion of beauty is always rooted in the presence of something rather than in its absence. And that we can often only comprehend beauty through light and sound. But when we get these moments of solitude or darkness, mentally, physically, emotionally, and or spiritually, What if it's an opportunity to create something absolutely unique and new to the world? And what if we could turn this on ourselves to create a life or parts of our lives that we truly want and are specifically designed for us on a soul level that clicks into place on the collective level? So when Venus disappears in the sky, or I should say goes dark, I think this could be an opportunity to sit in that darkness or void where we can't see the things that already exist. We can't create something by responding to other people, places, and things. And we're literally forced to stop seeing the beauty and love that exists outside of us, that we are constantly running after. And we're left to find it within ourselves, to discover those seeds of uniqueness, ideas, life that's so specific to us on a soul level. Now, with that being said, I think our patience will definitely be tested in this metaphorical darkness retreat, but creativity can't be forced. And I think that that's just a ugly truth. That we can't, the things that we're trying to create or manifest, we can't force it. There's this natural unfolding that takes place with beauty, freshness, and new ideas. So I think that's where maybe the challenge comes into place, where maybe things are coming up for us around the first week of February that we're reminiscing, or we're thinking back, or we're really sitting with maybe uncomfortable feelings. I mean, I do know a lot of people that I work with personally, even collectively, a lot of people are going through this weird transition phase where the old patterns don't really work anymore. But we can't quite see the new, or we can't quite see the next step yet. And so I think a lot of people are in this really weird time right now. And maybe you're not. And if you're not, maybe you're here to assist or to observe or to help. So either way, I think it's important. Now, that's why I think this is a much deeper story playing out. That it's not just, whatever's coming up the first week of February, you might return or revisit it again and with a different perspective or with new valuable insight the end of March. No. This is part of a Venus cycle where we are sort of closing out the previous cycle that I believe started in August of 2023. And we are moving into a new phase where we are maybe wanting to up level, to create something new, to literally or metaphorically involving the areas of our chart ruled by Venus. So what house rules Taurus? What house rules Libra? And what house rules Aries? Because this is where Venus will be transiting. Those areas are probably heavily involved in these 18-month cycles, these new cycles. Those themes or areas of life could be a source or a well of inspiration for new ideas that you want to bring into the world. And again, I'm going to go through each rising sign, but I'm not going to do chapters because it's going to be so brief. And I think because we're talking Venus and how partnership is often involved with Venus, I think it's really important to understand or look at, your family, your friends, your loved ones. What is their rising sign? What areas of their chart are ruled by Taurus, Libra, and Aries? And how can you maybe seek the support and the connection for that conversation around, what's going on right now? What needs to be put to rest? What needs to be let go? What is no longer serving you moving into a new phase or a new life or a new idea? And how you can support each other through that. Now, once we get to March 25th, 26th, depending on where you are in the world, Venus will retrograde back to that 0 degrees in Aries, but now as a morning star. And this will also be the first day of visibility as this new Venus. So the first week of February and roughly March 19th through the 25th could be really interesting time to not only revisit things that come up the first week of February, but also go into that place of where you can release, where you can let go. You can put to rest the old patterns, the old behaviors, whatever it may be, to move into what you want to move into. These new phases, these new ideas, new creations that we want to put out, oftentimes how we've been operating, that's not going to initiate the change we want to seek. And so this could be the first week of February and roughly March 19th to the 25th could be a time to see what comes up, but also see where we are loading bent arrows. And I love, love, love when Richard Rudd talks about this. And how as long as we keep loading bent arrows, we're never going to hit the target. And so this really weird eclipse season, I think, could be this opportunity to see, like, okay, where am I loading bent arrows? There's a target that, the thing I want to create, the path, what I want to move towards. That's the target. Where am I loading bent arrows? What do I need to release? What do I need to let go of? And some of you are already going through this because you feel things early. And then Venus finally emerges, becomes visible, is still retrograde. So we're still in a retrograde cycle, but becomes visible as a new Venus, sort of like a new moon. But now as a morning star on the 25th or 26th. So things are going to get very interesting for many of us. But I think this is interesting to me because this point in the cycle happening at the Aries point, 0 degrees Aries, is often the point where public projection to the external world can take place. So this is not only a new phase of Venus initiating what do we want to create, what do we want to sort of generate or gestate over the coming months. And with the Aries point playing into this, what do we want to create for the world to feel, have, experience, right? This is sort of like the place of public projection, the external world. This doesn't necessarily have to be like a fame thing or this like monumental thing. It could just be some of us shifting our internal states so that when we go out in the world, we are projecting the positivity or, the expansiveness that we want to, how do you want to be contagious to other people? Like, it could be very just simple day-to-day stuff. It doesn't have to be this like crazy monumental thing. And often those little things create a bigger impact than you think. So regardless, I think for a lot of us, this could be sort of an interesting year where we start to step into the new ways of being or the new forms of creation, the new life, the new path, whatever it may be that we want to create. But it at the Aries point, it's sort of like we're sharing it with the world. We're sharing it with the external world, our community, our groups. And I think that's why, among many, many other things, 2025 is like astrology I've never seen before. Where yes is going to provide, some challenges, that's life. But I think the fear mongering that's going on around it, I think is unfortunate, because I think 2025 with a new Mars cycle, a new Venus cycle, a new Mercury cycle, the node shifting signs. I mean, all the outer planets shifting into new signs. It's mind-blowing. It's an incredible time to be alive. And it's an opportunity. So I think this is just such a little glimpse into a much bigger picture that's playing out, where we're maybe being provided the opportunity to step in, like create that new thing or that new life or, whatever it may be, using the Venus ruled areas of our chart, in my opinion, to be the well of inspiration, the motivating factors behind it. So again, I think this is a very interesting time. Now, the last thing I want to mention is that it's also important to note the 8-year cycles of Venus, and that every 8 years, Venus will retrograde back to the same position within a degree or two. It's not perfect. So February, March could also be bringing us back to old situations with new circumstances. So think back to the spring of 2016. I'm sorry, spring of 2017. Think back to the spring of 2017. What was going on? There might be similar themes coming back around, where again, this new Venus, like a new moon, morning star Venus, is providing us the opportunity to choose something different, right? If something comes back around, how can we use the wisdom, the experience, the knowledge to choose something different? Now, I'm not going to get into it too much, but we could also think back to the spring of 2017 collectively in the US. And this was around the time a certain someone became president of the United States. And here we are again. So you can see it's not just individual, it's collective. We're stepping into hopefully a new way of being, and hopefully choosing something better that works for all involved. Now I say hopefully, I don't know. I think being aware of these cycles, however you feel about what's going on in the world right now, you have control over you. And I think that is the important part about these cycles, is all of that may be going on in the world around you, whether you agree with it or not. And you might feel like you have no power to do anything, to change anything, to impact any corner of the world. But you do. We all do. And it starts with us. So how can we look back to the spring of 2017 and choose something different? Choose something that provides us way more love and way more value, because that's all we have. And if we do that, we can collectively have a greater impact on everything around us. So I deeply think that this Venus cycle is very, very important, individually and collectively. So at this point, I'm starting to feel like that movie Inception, where it's like a dream within a dream. And I'm like in cycles within cycles. So before I lose my mind, I'm just going to briefly go through the rising signs and like certain areas to look out for maybe new creation, new path, new direction, or areas that could be the well of inspiration for the ideas, the new paths that are, unique, that you can create, that are unique and designed for you, that click into the collective perfectly. So Aries risings, new phase of creation could involve themes involving your physical body, appearance. How do you want to feel in your body? How can you create a new phase of generating the physical body and appearance that empowers you? In addition to your gifts, your talent, your innate gifts and talents, and providing yourselves more comfort in the material world. And lastly, look for new personal and professional partnerships, new ways of existing within personal and professional partnerships. Taurus risings, look for 12th house themes. So space, time alone, recharging your batteries, allowing yourself to sprawl out and provide the space to kind of sit with your thoughts, rest, recharge, in addition to your creativity, your self-expression, and what brings you joy. Also socializing, friends, aspirations, and goals could provide you a well of inspiration, but also you could find new phases and new ways of being around your social network and going after your goals, hopefully in a more joyful way with that 5th house connection, and also balancing time alone to rest and recharge your batteries for everything you want to achieve with the 12th house themes or 12th house connections. Cancer risings, look for new inspiration and a new phase involving achieving public goals. your career, your business, or for some of you, just being more public, being more seen in the world for your achievements and your recognition. Also look out for socializing, new phases, new ways of existing within friendships, your social network, and going after your goals. And lastly, that firm foundation that you already have or that you're seeking, to even incorporate that social life or feeling good within your home and around others. At home, maybe hosting, interacting with people you live with, or having people over as a way to socialize, communicate, create new connections and friendships, and dream up more aspirations and goals where you can maybe be seen more, that can maybe be seen more publicly, in addition to overall career and public recognition just being an overall theme within this new phase. Leo risings. Look for inspiration or new phases involving adventure, incorporating more adventure in your life. Are you hungry for expanding your horizons, exchanging insights through higher knowledge, maybe involving travel or writing? In addition to achieving public goals, being more public, career and public recognition themes. And lastly, look to social events, communicating and exchanging information within your daily environment or daily activities that provide you more joy and sort of ignite a more delightful energy that's so contagious to others. Virgo risings. Look for 8th house themes as a source of inspiration or even a new phase of creation where you can connect and merge with others, increase your resources, and obtain deeper levels of transformational activities. Also look for adventure or just balancing the connection with others with the adventure, expanding your horizons. Maybe adventure and expanding your horizons by connecting on a deeper level with others. That adds a new phase of richness to your life. And lastly, look for new phases of inspiration or cycles involving your innate gifts and talents, and also having more grace and providing yourselves more comfort in the material world. Libra risings. Look for new phase, new beginnings, and even a well of inspiration, focusing on your physical body and appearance. How can you nourish your body and appearance in ways that are completely new and fresh and unique, that aren't necessarily superficial, but it's literally nourishing every cell in your body so that when you step out into the world, it's in alignment to your identity, how you want to be seen, and what you want to project out into the world. And how that radiates or potentially creates new phases within personal and professional partnerships, where you balance the needs of yourself versus the needs of others. And how focusing and nourishing your body and your identity helps anchor that within personal and professional partnerships. And lastly, there can be an element of connecting and merging with others on a deeper level that not only nourishes you and maybe even your physical body, your identity, how you want to show up in the world, but also nourishes others. And lastly, you could have a deeper desire, or this could provide inspiration to you, involving yourselves in the transformational activities. Scorpio rising. This is going to involve new phase or inspiration with health work, and routines. So health, wellness, your vitality, and structuring routines that allow you to step into what you want to create or provide you the vitality and the time to do the things that you want to do. In addition to creating new cycles where connecting with others, personal, professional partnerships could take on a new tone, new desires, or could be a source of inspiration and ideas for you. And lastly, balancing all of that with carving out time for space, time alone, recharging your batteries, allowing yourself to dream. Sagittarius risings, this is going to be a beautiful time where you can have a new phase of creativity, relationship with your children, if that's applicable to you, and stepping into a new way of self-expression, joy, and opening of the heart. This could be balanced with the health, work, and routines, where stepping into not just health, but your vitality can allow you to feel better, to feel joy on a visceral, even cellular level. And lastly, sort of balancing that with a new way of socializing, your social network, your friendships, aspirations, and goals. So setting new intentions or new ways of being around your health, your vitality, your work, and your routines to structure the time for the creativity, the joy, the socializing, surrounding yourself with people that are a source of creativity and joy for you as you pursue your aspirations and goals. Capricorn risings. This new phase could involve the firm foundation you've created or want to continue to create. Your social life at home, relationship with family, and even hosting more, having people in your home to connect, to create the strong foundation to build everything else on top of. Now, what could be built on that foundation within this new phase or be a source of inspiration could be your creativity, your children, your self-expression, and what truly brings you joy, in addition to using that as a fuel source for your career, your public recognition, and for some of you, being more comfortable, being more public, being seen for that firm foundation, that creativity and self-expression that's unique to you. Aquarius risings. This could be a new phase or a source of inspiration that involves social events, communicating and exchanging information, and daily activities you enjoy, or creating a more joyful environment in your day-to-day lives where you can feel more delightful. That's actually contagious to you and to others. Now, similar to Capricorn risings, this new phase could also involve creating a firm foundation. Where do you want to strengthen your foundation? Where maybe within that firm foundation, you can host more. You can actually have more of a social life at home that provides more fuel to that firm foundation that you already have or that you want to continue strengthening. And lastly, with that firm foundation and stepping into a more delightful energy that's contagious, there can be an additional desire for adventure, expanding your horizons, and exchanging insight through higher knowledge, which could include writing, traveling, and even teaching. And lastly, Pisces risings. This can involve your innate gifts and talents and providing yourselves more comfort in the material world. In addition to socializing, social events, communicating and exchanging information, and just stepping into your daily activities or creating a daily environment that feels more joyful and delightful, where it nourishes you, but also is contagious to others. And lastly, you could also be looking at the eighth house as a well of inspiration or an opportunity to create a new phase in your life where you can step into connecting and merging with others on a deeper, more meaningful level, or involving yourselves in transformational activities.